concept-based instruction, it mandates, it compels us more critical thinking at increasingly higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. That is, according to the, if we go through the taxonomy of educational objectives, what Bloom has given, the higher level of objective is critical thinking, where that kind of critical thinking, we can achieve the objective of critical thinking, what suggested by Bloom, by adopting concept-based learning. And here another one, that is the International Baccalaureate Organization, where it has says that the teaching learning, that is the concept-based teaching, it is nothing but where it is overarching concepts essential that students transfer their knowledge, that is where the students can transfer whatever the knowledge they have between the personal experiences, learning from what they have learned from the other disciplines and other broader global community. So that is concept-based learning. And then here, this instruction is driven by big ideas rather than subject-specific content. Rather than the subject-specific content means here in our regular classroom, what we are going to do, we are going to just transmit or transact, or we are going to teach about the content, whatever there is in the syllabus. But here we are not bothered about how to make the students to understand that information. So here the concept-based instruction, it considers the context in which they will use their understanding. That is, simply we can say that it leads the students to apply. The main intention behind our learning is that where whatever they are going to learn in our classroom, that should be applicable, or the student should be in a condition to apply that knowledge in the daily life situation. For example, in maths, what we are going to do, we are going to make the students to understand the basic concepts like addition, subtraction, multiplication. The child is able to do all these in the classroom. But if as a parent or in regular life, if the students goes to a shop, like to a ration shop or to somewhere else, if he is not able to add, or if he is not able to subtract, or he is not able to do that basic concepts in his daily life, then what is the use of learning that concepts in the classroom? But a concept-based learning, it emphasizes where it considers, or it leads the students to consider the context in which they will use their understanding. It makes the students to use whatever they have, their understanding in the, or in which context they can apply. So that is the main feature of this concept-based learning. And then it brings real world meaning to content, knowledge and skills. So that means it brings a real world meaning. That means it is not just a bookish knowledge. It helps, it brings real knowledge to the students. Whatever they have learned in the content, knowledge and skills, that should be helpful to the real world. And students become critical thinkers. Yes, which is essential to creatively solve their problems in daily life. So here it makes students as critical thinkers, just not simply if any problem arises in our daily life, what we are going to do, we are going to take the help of somebody else. So that should not happen, where students or the learners or individuals on themselves, they should be in a condition to solve their problem creatively. So that is possible because of their critical thinking skill, and that critical thinking skill can be developed through this concept-based learning, and it creates connections to students' prior experiences. And not here, it is not going to consider only the new information, whatever we are going to provide. It wants to connect what students know in his previous classes, or whatever the previous learning experiences he or she has, where it connects that previous knowledge to the present knowledge. and brings relevance to the student teaching and facilitates deeper understanding of the content knowledge and acts as a springboard for students to respond their learning with action. It is like a springboard where students can respond to their learning with action. That is what concept-based learning. Then, why should we have this concept-based learning? What are the reasons behind this concept-based learning? So, where the reasons why curriculum design wants to redress between the knowledge or facts and concepts or generalization. According to Erickson, he gives two reasons. One is the information explosion and second one is the changing purpose and nature of information. Here, the first one, the information explosion. What here? Teachers make sure their students are equipped to deal with information explosion. That means nowadays, yes, of course, we are in the digital age and information is exploded to a large extent. And here, the students should deal with information explosion through memorization, which would be impossible, where the students, they can't access or they are not able to deal with that information explosion just through memorization. But through teaching them the skills to sort that information and integrate that information helps them to absorb or to gain that information. That means here through building of concepts rather than amazing of facts. Just instead of missing the facts or giving information, too much information, that will not help the students to understand the concepts or information. So because of this information explosion, where we can make students to understand, or just instead of memorizing the information, if we make them to understand their information through building of concepts, that helps them to learn very well. So that is the first reason why should we have concept-based learning, because of information explosion. The second reason is the changing purpose and nature of information. Here I had given one example where we know that the status, the place of Pluto, where the planet Pluto, somebody says it is in the place of 9th, or we have find out another planet, a new one, which made this position of the Pluto to change like that. So how we came to know that? So here on of planetary status of Pluto to get a sense that true information is a time situated concept. And another one example here we can see that where we use Google, all of us, of course, including me, we are going to use Google for what? To search information or to find out the information. How can schools ensure that what their students learn is not redundant by the time they emerge from compulsory education? Here I had taken two examples. We always use Google to get the information. If you go through the search engine Google, you will find out number of pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. Okay, in each and every page related to the concept-based learning, you will get lot of information. But we don't know which information should I select, which I have to leave, which is essential for me, like that. We don't know. Just I think as a teacher, you could have experienced in your classes. If you ask your students to present a seminar on a topic, they are going to they will bring a write-up nearly like 10 to 20 pages like that. But here that 10 to 20 pages of assignment is not essential, because what the student has done, the student has put all the information what he has got from the textbooks or some other internet like that. So where what that student doesn't know, how which information should he include in his topic. So that is the one thing. And then the schools, they also they don't know to what extent the students, whatever they learned in our classroom is redundant by the time. That means after the completion of the school or completion of the education, the individuals will return back to the society, and then the knowledge or the understanding whatever the students have learned in the classroom is useful or not when they go back to the society. That also we don't know. So therefore, because of this, where information is constantly being renewed and made redundant, redundant means obsolete. By that time, it will not be useful like that. And then many of the facts which we were all taught in school are now simply no longer true. Because we can take our examples itself, what happened with us, what we have learned in our primary school level may not be true by this time, because what our children are learning today. And then, so for that purpose, we need this concept-based learning, where it makes the students to think critically about that concepts or about that content. So for these two purposes, Erickson emphasizes the concept-based learning should be the method of teaching in our classrooms, where information explosion and changing purpose and nature of information necessitates, or it emphasizes to implement or to adopt concept-based learning in the classrooms. And then what I told already, that is where in the concept-based learning, it is not just a fact acquisition, it is teaching the big ideas of a subject using the appropriate content, information to support the learning of these ideas. And then where the teachers do not have to teach all the factual content, instead, they can select and reorganize the content relevant to learners' understanding of these big ideas. Here, where while if you are going to implement the concept-based learning, you are not supposed to teach all the content, but instead you can select and reorganize the content which is relevant to the learner's understanding. Where this is conceived as a form of inductive teaching. Excuse me. In which learners are guided to understand the big ideas rather than being taught directly about these ideas. See, for example, in our classrooms, what happens? The teachers, they are going to teach the content continuously. In the last, if the teacher is going to ask questions to the students may not be in a condition to answer to that questions. Why? Because students, they are not able to understand what the teacher has taught in the classroom. So for that purpose, what it says, it is a form of inductive teaching where students are guided to understand the big ideas included in the content. And the learning helps students to both retain the understanding and to transfer this to other contexts. If you are going, instead of directly telling about these ideas, where you have to guide the students to understand that ideas through concept-based learning, makes them to transfer the learning to other contexts. So that is concept-based learning. So let us see what is the difference between this content-based teaching and concept-based teaching. Here, till now, I told about what is content-based teaching, what are the features or what are the reasons behind this concept-based teaching. So you may feel that then we may think that both are similar, or to some extent they are going to be look like one, but they are different. Where In the content based teaching or in our traditional classroom, what happens, we are going to focus on the facts. Just we are going to give the information, factual information. But here in the concept based teaching, where the teaching focuses on the concepts and generalization, where the teacher is going to select and reorganize the specific and relevant content material to support the learning of identified big ideas. Here just we are going to provide the facts, but in case of concept based teaching, what happens, where we are going to select, we are going to concentrate on the concepts and generalizations, and we are going to select and reorganize the relevant content material to support the learning of that big ideas. Here in the content based teaching, the norm will tend to involve direct instruction. That means we want to transfer the information. Just we are going to taught what were the content in the syllabus. But here teachers tell their students upfront what concepts and generalizations are, and provide them with sufficient content material or enable them to locate themselves about the content, and it enables them to flesh out the key concepts with facts, etc. See here, where in case of content based teaching, what happens, it involves direct instruction, but here where the teachers are going to help their students to come up with the concepts and generalization, and provides them some content material and enable them to flesh out the key concepts with facts. That means he helps the students to come out with the identify the concepts with facts. And here in the content based teaching, where students may this content based teaching may not get beyond information just it provides superficial learning, just information transmission. But here what happens, where the students they are going to apply the knowledge. It is not a superficial learning. If the students are going to have a deeper level of understanding of these concepts, they can apply that knowledge to their regular life. That is happening. And here the content can change, but the concepts they stay same. It is not dynamic, it does not changes. Here the content can change, and in the changed content we can find out the new concepts, or the same concept in the different content. So that is what happened, where in the content based teaching, the content may change, the concepts in the case of concept based teaching, the concepts stay the same. And here the teaching is topic based and may involve covering the subject content described in a textbook in a sequential manner, where this here learning is more connected and meaningful, and also more powerful as it can be applied widely. Here just they want to transact whatever they want to cover the subject content prescribed in a textbook manner, but here it wants to provide a more connected and meaningful learning to their students. And this approach means that all the content is seen as an important as to be covered, but here it wants where students through where it is content is seen as where it is going to give importance to the content and the coverage of that content. But in case of content based learning, what happens, where it focuses on the understanding of the concepts, that is conceptual understanding, where it wants to make the students to learn the concepts. Here, the end goal for students is knowledge acquisition, and in case of concept-based teaching, it is the application of whatever the knowledge acquired by the students in the classroom to their daily life. And here, the knowledge is taught discreetly with teachers, rarely helping, where the help of the teachers is very rare. But in case of concept-based teaching, where the teachers are going to guide their students through appropriate activities, where it is just transaction of the content. To some extent only the teacher is going to help them. But in case of concept-based teaching, the teachers are going to guide the students continuously and helps them to find out the appropriate activities to arrive inductively at an understanding of the big ideas. Big ideas means nothing but whatever the concepts which was involved in the content. And then curriculum or even their previous knowledge and experiences, where it does, it doesn't, the teacher is not going to bother about the previous knowledge and experiences of the students, but here the teachers wants to assist students to see the patterns and connections between their concepts and generalization, and make links to other parts of the curriculum and also students' lives. Here, where they will not consider the previous knowledge, but here in case of this concept-based teaching, teachers are going to make a connection between the concept and generalization and link it to the curriculum, other parts of the curriculum, not only the specified curriculum, to the other parts of the curriculum and also to the students' life. And then there is a limited transfer of learning, but here we can see a wider transfer of learning where the students can apply his or her knowledge to each and every field of his daily life. It is not only to the social aspect or economical aspect. It is where the students can apply or transfer his learning, whatever he has learned in the classroom, to his daily life. So that is the difference between the content-based teaching and concept-based teaching. And then this effective concept-based teaching process, already I told that it is different from that of the traditional classroom teaching, where in the traditional classroom teaching, we are going to provide the knowledge instead, where we are not going to ask any questions like that. But this concept-based teaching, if we want to make it as an effective process, we need to ask, or we have to involve our students in asking. That means we have to involve students through asking questions, like identify examples of a concepts. Here, for example, now also what I am going to do, I am going to provide the information. Here, I can ask some questions to you, identify the concepts, whatever the content I have provided. That means we can involve our students in the process of learning by asking questions like identify examples of a concept, organize and reflect upon that concepts, provide counter examples for that concept, and develop generalizations about the concepts and apply those generalizations to previous and future knowledge. See here what we are going to do in the general, that means traditional classroom, just we go on teaching or lecturing at the higher level. We don't ask any questions. By 10, if my class start by 10 o'clock, I will come and I will start lecturing. By 11 o'clock, by the 11 o'clock, I will stop and I will instruct students. Tomorrow we will discuss another new concepts, or let us discuss the new thing, like that. But we are not going to ask any questions. Instead, in the concept-based teaching, what happens, whatever the content we are going to teach in our classroom, we have to ask questions to the students to identify the concepts, give examples from their daily life situation or from their surrounding to that concept, and to organize and reflect upon them, and ask them to give the examples, and then develop generalizations and apply their generalization to previous and future knowledge. So in that way, we can make our concept-based teaching process effective. Then here, this concept-based teaching learning, it has it is characterized by, or it is like a learning cycle, and it involves teachers structuring their lessons to ensure inquiry-based instruction. That means where the cycle of concept-based teaching is based upon the constructivist teaching methods, and where we can emphasize inquiry-based strategies, what I told in the previous slide, that is, we should involve students by asking questions, that is inquiry-based strategies. Why this is happening like this? What are the examples you can find out? Like that, where that is inquiry-based strategies to allow students to explore and develop the concepts. So therefore, the concept-based teaching, it is a learning cycle which emphasizes on the inquiry-based strategies. It involves 5 basic steps where I think you know about this. The engagement phase. Nowadays in our classroom that we are applying this 5E model, you know about that. The engagement phase, in which students are exposed to a topic and their existing knowledge are discussed. That is the first step. The second is the exploration phase, where students explore new materials and ideas. That is, the aim of this stage is to raise questions, complexities, or contradictions. The third step is the explanation phase, where new terms and patterns are discovered during the exploration phase are explained. And then application phase, where students apply the new terms or patterns in a range of different contexts. And the final stage is the evaluation stage, where actually takes place throughout the learning cycle, and student understanding is constantly monitored to ensure their understanding of new concepts. That is where we are going to evaluate whether the students have understood the new concepts. So this is the learning cycle which we can find in our concept-based learning through inquiry-based strategies. Then how can we plan for this concept-based teaching and learning? It involves 5 components. The 5 components are conceptual understanding, conceptual questions, concept-based assessment, learning activities. These are the, these are some of the components of which we have to consider while planning for the concept-based teaching. So the first component is conceptual understanding. What it means, where conceptual understanding is nothing but where they are all statements that connect 2 or more concepts and name the relationship between them. Conceptual understanding should be the first component of planning for the concept-based teaching, which means that where they are all statements that connect 2 or more concepts, and that should name the relationship between that 2 concepts. Here I had given 3 examples. Here the first example is, artists often use their personal experiences as inspiration. Here we can see the 3 concepts are artists, personal experiences, and inspiration. And it connects the 3 concepts like artist, personal experiences, and inspiration. Another one example here I had given, scientists engage in a process to test their hypothesis. See the 3 different concepts like scientist, process, hypothesis. So they are all the concepts in this statement. And then another one example, ecosystems require a balance of producers, consumers, and decomposers. See, again, ecosystem is a concept. Producers, consumers, decomposers, function. They are the concepts and they are related. So that should be a first component while planning. So where we have to know about the conceptual understanding. And the second component is the conceptual questions. Like what I told, the first stage should be the learning cycle engagement, like that, where the first component should be the conceptual understanding. Second is the conceptual questions, where that should help students to reach the planners or articulated conceptual understandings through inquiry. Here we should have some conceptual questions where that help the students. That means what we have planned in the first step, that is in the conceptual understanding level, we have to frame conceptual questions. That is the second component, where these questions help students to reach the, or helps the students to achieve what the teacher has formulated conceptual understanding. So here it includes 2 or more concepts found in a conceptual understanding. Here I go with an example. In the first component, what I have taken, that is ecosystems require a balance of producers, consumers, and decomposers to function. Here the teacher can have these questions like, how might different types of organisms live together within an ecosystem? Here producer is there, consumers are there, decomposers are there. This is the conceptual understanding which I have planned. Then I want to make my students to understand this. And for that, I can frame questions like this, where I can make students to think over this. How might different types of organisms live together within an ecosystem? So they think. So that is what is conceptual questions, and where through inquiry I am going to make them to understand these concepts. Another questions, why might ecosystems require a balance of this? Here I told that balance. Why? What is the reason behind that? We have to make them to think instead of explaining. These are all consumers, these are all producers, decomposers, how they function, how. So you make them to think over that. That is the second component. And third component is the concept-based assessment, where in this component, educators, that means teachers, they are going to create assessment tasks that ask students to demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and understanding. Where in the last 2 components, we had made them to think about that concept. And in this component, what we are going to do, we are going to create some assessment tasks where we can came to know, understand whether the students have understood the concepts or not. And here we make them to demonstrate what is their knowledge, skills, and understanding. So it requires the teachers to elicit evidence of how students have formed individual concepts, where in the last 2 components I have made them to think about that. And here I am going to assess whether the students have understood that concept or not, through how whether they have formed the individual concepts. Like educators look at what students understand to be the characteristics of a concept, or if they can name examples or non-examples of it. For instance, an example of an ecosystem would be the tundra, whereas non-example would be a fish tank. Here I'm taking the previous example only, ecosystem, where the student should be in a condition to identify a non-example and example of an ecosystem and make connections across the concepts. Like here they can connect the concepts between producers, decomposers, what is the relationship between these two concepts, like that, and then transfer their understanding to new situations. For example, in the first in the classroom, they have learned about the concept of this ecosystem, the relationship between the producers, consumers, like that, and they can apply that knowledge to a new kind of ecosystem like coral reef ecosystem or some other ecosystem that should be there in our plan, concept based assessment. And then learning activities, where after these educators are going to plan for the opportunities, where we came to know that where students can form concepts or they can make connections between them and transfer their conceptual understanding to new situations. So here we can align the learning experiences according to the conceptual understandings of the students, and learning activities to develop students' knowledge and skills are constructed with purposefully with conceptual understandings in mind. So therefore, while planning for a concept-based teaching, we should keep these 4 components in our mind. Then only our concept-based teaching will be effective. And here they have given a list of ways to assess the conceptual understanding, like guided questions, open-ended questions, semi-structured interviews, and then think aloud problem solving, graphic organizers, concept maps, KWL, know, want, learn charts, and word clouds. So I'm going to give only one example for this. So in the last, let us, I will come to this one after in the last. So there are some models of this concept-based teaching learning developed by educationalists, where here there are 6 models are there for this competency-based teaching learning. Appleby curriculum integration model, and then 5E teaching model, what we are following in our present classrooms. So the first Appleby curriculum integration model means where here curriculum should not stress knowledge as a body of information, and it should see knowledge as an action of activity in cultural practices and traditions. Here I am just going to mention the features of these models because it is not possible to deal in detail with each and every models of CBTL, because each it takes a more time to explain each and every model. So that means in our curriculum also we can make changes according to the competency based teaching. For that we have different models. In that, the first model is the Appleby curriculum model, and the second model is 5E teaching model. The 5E model, it is modeling, demonstration and explanation, questioning and using. 5 phases of activity. There are 5 phases are engagement, exploration, explanation, elaboration and evaluation. And another one model is science, technology, science approach, where students try to solve the problems that are relevant to their daily lives. In this model, it emphasizes on giving the opportunity to students to solve problems which are relevant to their daily issues or daily life. And then graphic organizer model is the another one model, where teacher determines the concept that is the target of instruction, where the teacher decides which concept is today's target of instruction, and then a graphic organizer is developed to illuminate this concept for the students. That is the graphic organizer model. And then we have integrated curriculum model, where I told the exam questions like inquiry based strategies are teaching, where we have to integrate that to our curriculum. And then understanding by design is the another one model. And then we have Erickson's model, where it emphasizes on the synergistic thinking, that is the interplay between thinking at the factual and conceptual levels. So transfer of knowledge and skills is essential, and social construction of meaning. That means concept-based models function much more powerfully when collaborative group work is used to get different minds working together to generate new ideas. That is the main feature of Erickson's model. So here I told about some this here ways to assess the conceptual understanding. So I had taken two examples here. There are a number of ways we can assess, here I am going to discuss, or I am going to give only two examples. One is the graphic organizer, another one is the word clouds. I think you know about the concept maps. You know about the concept maps? Concept maps. Are you going to follow in your classroom? Concept maps?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they are all nothing but the concept based teaching. Here I have taken two examples. Let us see what is this word clouds. See here, word clouds. I think in this picture you can see number of words, different words like point, reflect, right answer, word, first, written, student, cloud, learn, like that. See here, it is what a word cloud. It is nothing but it is an image made of words that together resemble a cloudy shape, where it is made up of words, different words in the form of a cloud, and the size of a word shows how important it is. See here, the word, the term word here, see the size, point, reflect, answer. They are sized differently, where the size of the word shows the important it is. That is how often it appears in a text, its frequency, that is. And people, they use word clouds to produce a summary of large documents. I think you could have seen some theses or some reports on the front page itself. They are going to have this kind of pictures on the thesis. So by seeing that picture itself, we can find out what is there in the thesis, or what is the main essence of the thesis. Like this word clouds produce a summary of large documents like reports or speeches, or to create art on a topic, and then or to visualize data. Okay, so Brooks, he exemplified the word cloud technique by providing a word cloud summary of their article, where Brooks, he has used this word cloud to summarize his article. So even several research studies, they have demonstrated that this word cloud, it provides a quick analytical technique to begin assessment of student written explanations and reflections. There are some research evidences which says that it is a quick analytical technique to assess the students' explanations, written explanations and reflections. And then another one I have taken here is graphic organizer. See, I had taken two graphic organizer different given by two different students, where this in what happened in the classroom, the teacher wants to know which are the edible berries and inedible berries. To assess the students' conceptual understanding about that berries, inedible and edible berries, the teacher asked the students to go through the graphic organizer, where the student A has given this picture. Like, see here what the student A has done. He had taken the face of a human being. That is what it is. See, sad. And here poisonous they have written. For the edible, that means poisonous means for the inedible berries, they had given this example. See, it is very sad. That means it shows it is poisonous. Here edible, see, blackberries, okay, they are elderberries. See the face. So, and that student named it as a girl and it as a boy. He has taken two examples. And the student B, that child has represented his conceptual understanding in different way. This is a way of representation given by it was by student A, and student B here again he has differentiated like poisonous berries and edible berries. He colored it in the black and here red, holy, deadly, nightshade, like that they have. So where here it helps the learners to organize their ideas. What I told, that concept maps is also like that only, where we are going to organize our ideas in the form of a picture, in the form of a graph. Like here, either before a course of study, that means if you want to know the prior knowledge of the students, you can have this tool before course of a study or immediately following it, where they can reveal a good deal about the learner's conceptual structure. By seeing that, we can came to know at what level the learner is. So in this way, we can adopt different ways. And you told that you know about the concept map. And I have one template how we can plan for our classroom teaching through this concept. We can implement the concept based teaching. I will stop this PPT and I will share another one. Another one template is there. Share agta idea. Can you see the
no madam. No madam.
No?
It's no share, madam.
Okay, okay, 1 second. Now?
No, madam.
No.
No.
Yeah. Now? Can you?
Yes, madam. Yeah. Clear.
So this is
Clear.
one template which we can, this is not mine. So I have taken this from, I acknowledge that author. So where teacher have to, will have a unique approach to implementing concept-based instruction. That means each and every teacher has their own planning where they can implement this concept-based instruction in their classroom. So here in the 2011 an article in Science and Children magazine that had given a 5 basic steps to help the teachers to actually implement this concept-based learning in their classrooms. So we can use this template with these 5 steps and we can start to plan for our concept-based teaching in the classroom. So here we can teacher name, the course title and grade level, dates for teaching this unit. And then here, choose a topic of study. Start with the content your students need to learn. Here may we choose a unit that you already want to change or redevelop. So here, what content or topics will this unit include? For example, you can select any unit of your subject from the science or maths or from social studies, language, like that. And what content or topics, you have to identify the topics or content from that unit. And then in the second step, you decide on a concept. Decide on a concept, that means use the questions. Here they had given some questions. that might serve as a good concept for this unit. That is, thinking about this unit, what is the most important idea that you want your students to remember when they leave your class? Decide on the concept and try to summarize this big idea in one word. That means the content or the topic which you the concept which you are going to identify in that unit. Okay, here is this a concept or a topic, or is this a concept that you value for your students to explore? You as a teacher has to decide. And then, are there any other big ideas that fit this content well that you might also want your students to consider? Is there are any other ideas are there in that content, or any other concepts are there that you think your students wants to know or understand? And then what concept will this unit explore? You have to decide that one. And then in the third step, develop essential understanding. That means, what do you want your students to know by the end of the unit on the factual and conceptual levels, by specifically writing down what you hope your students will learn about the content and the concept. So here in our general lesson planning, what we are going to do, the first we are going to write the general objectives and specific objectives for each and every lesson plan. Here it is like somewhat similar to that one, where what we expect from our students after the end of this unit on the factual and conceptual level. Specifically, we have to write down that what our students hope that our students will learn about the content and the topic. So you have to clarify what should they accomplish after the completion of this unit. Like I can state, using this I can statements, list the key learning objectives you have for your students. And then use inquiry-based investigations, what I told, conceptual questions, where give your students the chance to use their prior knowledge to solve a problem or explore a new ideas first. Often the big ideas show up all on their own, then follow up by introducing the unit concept and the topic of study. Keep bringing class discussion. That means don't stick on to go on teaching in that traditional way, but instead keep on them involving in your teaching by asking questions. Okay, and then what learning experience you list, what kind of learning experiences you want to provide to your students to connect the content and the concept in that unit. And then the last step, you have to assess both content and concept. To what extent by the end of this unit the students have achieved their content and the concept. Give a chance to show you what they have learned. Either add a special activity that asks students to demonstrate their learning related to the unit concept, what I have told, graphic organizer, concept map, word cloud, or think aloud, like that, or blend this into your assessment of their content, knowledge and skills by asking them to connect the two together. That means the content and the concepts, like that. So here you can make a list of 5 below, assess your students' learning of the content, concept and the connections between them. So in this way you can you can plan for your concept based teaching in your classroom. So with this I conclude my discussion on concept based teaching. So to some extent, what I feel, my opinion is that at present we are using this concept based teaching in our classroom, but maybe in the different ways. So that is my opinion. So now it is open for the discussion. If you have any questions or if you want to add up something, please.
Madam, can we
Yes.
separate the concept from the content?
Ah.
When we are designing the curriculum, we are including different concepts in that curriculum. And how can we differentiate a concept from the content when
No,
we are
sir.
citing?
Here we are not going to differentiate the content from the topic. From the content itself, we are going to identify the concept. We are not going to differentiate. So identifying that concepts, we are making the children to involve themselves in exploring the concept, and then on themselves they have to explore what is that. Here we are not going to differentiate the content. So in the classrooms, we have to teach the content. Instead of teaching that content, like giving direct instruction, where we have to identify the concepts behind that, big ideas behind that content, and then we have to give opportunities to students to explore that one.
And in the classroom, when we are different types of learners, particularly the slow learners, can we initiate to
Yes.
go for generalizations in concept-based teaching?
No, generalizations means here, in which aspects are you are asking? Generalization means here, the generalization is related to the concept. As we have different types of learners in the classroom, we can, in the last class, what I told, personalized learning, in that we can have some activities according to the needs of the students, where we can guide the students to explore the concepts at their own speed, in their own pace. That is, here we can't generalize the same activities to all the learners. That is not possible. But here the students, by exploring the concepts, by adding the new information to their previous knowledge, they can generalize what they have learned. That we can do. That is. Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
See, we discussed about the factual knowledge and then how the concept of knowledge is much better than just confining to the factual knowledge. But at the same time, the other categories of knowledge like procedural knowledge or metacognitive knowledge, that also we may have to focus upon. So do you think that the concept-based instruction or the Hilda Tabas, the way of perceiving the concept in 70s, till now, is it valid, or do you think something else to be done in addition to concept?
So here, this concept-based teaching is not it is not given by Hilda Taba. It is what I told. It is a new trend in the field of education, concept-based learning. But the main the base we can see in the Hilda Taba's work also. That I told. Okay, so it is not the concept which was evolved in the period of early 1960s. It is a new trend in the field of, but here we can see some footprints of this concept-based teaching in the Hilda Taba's work also. But then coming to your that, what is that procedural knowledge and then metaphysics, to some extent what I feel we can, but what you told metaphysics, that a little bit difficult, because for us itself it is difficult to
Not
understand.
metaphysics, I said metacognitive knowledge, like
Metacognitive knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, we can then.
Yeah, if no more questions, then I would take. Oh, is there any more questions?
No, nobody is there. I think no questions are there.
Selva Kumar sir, yeah, please.
Can we achieve the uniform concept formation? Because the concept formation entirely depends on the previous knowledge of the child, the previous experience of the child. But how to achieve the uniform concept formation